Here we go. 1 year and some change later, Nate and I are back to give you 10 more movies that belong in the Criterion Collection.
Hey everyone, good to see you again.
So if you want to check out part 1, make sure you go over to Nate's YouTube channel. The link will be down below in the description where we listed off our 10 through 6. There's some really great picks there from both Nate and myself. And in this video, we will do part 2. This will be the concluding chapter of this video where we will give our 5 and our 1. So we're just gonna kind of bounce back and forth. And Nate is going to start this off with his number 5.
So coming in at my number 5, I have Citizen Kane. This movie has been rumored to be added to the Criterion Collection for years. A lot of people thought that it would be Spy number 1000. We ended up getting the Godzilla collection, of course, but Citizen Kane to me is at this point just inevitable. This year, 2021, is its 80th anniversary, and I was reading a few forums online, and it sounds like back in 2016, Warner Brothers gave Criterion Collection the permission to give this movie a release. We're closer than we ever have been before, and I really think that it's going to happen. Do I really need to explain why Citizen Kane belongs in the Criterion Collection? I mean, it just does, you know? It's Citizen Kane, all right? It just needs to be on the collection. Come on, let's put it on the collection.
My number 5 is going to be a horror film called The Lodge. This movie came out in 2019. I saw it last year around January or February, and it was kind of more of a streaming film. It was in theaters a little bit, but it didn't really have any traction. It's very indie, and it's kind of a religious horror film. It's something a bit different. I think that this movie would be great in the Criterion Collection. I'm a big advocate for horror movies to get that opportunity to be in the Criterion Collection. We need more horror for horror fans like myself. And The Lodge is one that is not mainstream. It's very, very small. You have Riley Keough in this movie, and then you have the kid from It, which I'm blanking on his name. But this is a movie that I feel like could have incredible supplements. It could be a really great movie to bring in horror fans, because I feel like, even though I don't have the Blu-ray and I don't own it, it's very bare bones. It's very bare bones because it's kind of like a dump to studio release of a Blu-ray where it's just like, here you go. This movie didn't make a lot of money. It didn't do particularly well. A lot of people didn't talk about it. It was very overlooked. And for that reason, it belongs on the Criterion Collection. And I think that this is a horror movie that kind of delves into the weird, that oddity, the things that Criterion loves.
The Criterion Collection currently has 11 movies that are Best Picture winners on their collection. At number 4, I have From Here to Eternity. The most iconic scene from the movie is probably the beach scene where they're kissing and the water washes up on shore over them, and it's just like really romantic and everything, but I think this movie has so much more to offer than that one quick scene that doesn't even last like more than a few seconds. The movie has a lot of heart to it. It also won Donna Reed and Frank Sinatra Best Supporting Performances at the Oscars, and both of them give great performances. It's the first Frank Sinatra movie I've ever seen, and I think he deserved the Oscar. He was absolutely incredible. Everyone in this movie was incredible. That's the thing. Like, it was genuinely sad too. I wasn't expecting it to be as sad as it actually was. There's only a standard Blu-ray edition out there, and I would just love it so much more if the Criterion Collection could get a hold of it and give it a proper release, because that's what this movie deserves, honestly. It takes place World War II. I'm not going to say too much more than that. Just watch the movie.
My number 4 is going to go to Whiplash. I have heard everybody shout from the heavens and from the mountains that this movie needs to be on Criterion. I just finally got to watch Whiplash for the first time. It took forever. I watched it on a plane, so it really wasn't even the best quality that I could have watched it, so I need to rewatch it, but I am right there with you. And you know what would be an awesome supplement? Having the short film inside of the Blu-ray, that would be really freaking cool. And there you go. Criterion, let's get it done. Because of how influential Damien Chazelle has been in directing over the past decade, you have to include a movie like this. It's probably the movie that makes the most sense. La La Land doesn't make sense, way too mainstream. Way more mainstream than Whiplash, if I'm being honest. And First Man, no. The cover alone would be amazing.
At number 3, I have The Father, which was just released like last year. As all of you know, Anthony Hopkins won Best Actor in a Leading Role for this movie, and in addition to that, it won Best Adapted Screenplay. If it were up to me, it should have won Best Picture. The Father is just one of those movies that you have to see it to believe it. You hear the hype with Anthony Hopkins' performance, or maybe you hear that it's a really sad movie, but you don't really understand what people are talking about until you have sat down and watched it for yourself, because the way this movie is presented is just so well done. I also think it should have won Best Editing. It is edited in such a strategic way to really get the audience in the mind of Anthony Hopkins' character, and it's backed by amazing performances. Obviously, Hopkins won the Oscar, but also Olivia Colman was nominated for Best Supporting Actress. She does great as well in this movie. For what it is and for the content it's dealing with, I think it deserves that preservation that the Criterion Collection gives to each of their movies. When it comes to supplements, I'm not sure what supplements The Father already has on its standard Blu-ray release. However, I'm sure the Criterion Collection could do better than whatever is on the Blu-ray. I don't own the Blu-ray because I'm hoping that someday the Criterion Collection releases it, but I'm sure that if it's not already included in a standard Blu-ray release, they could definitely include interviews with the actors, especially with Anthony Hopkins, someone who's still living today. The Criterion Collection, I don't know if they would have the access to interview him on his role in this movie, or Olivia Colman for that matter, but I'm sure they could get something worked up where they could interview or share some behind the scenes footage, or whatever they do. I know that they could treat this movie with respect.
My number 3 is going to go to my third and last horror film, and that is going to be this year's British horror film, Censor. This is all about video nasties, and this was a movie that shook me. I had no idea what to expect, but man, does this movie go for broke. And I think that this movie works so well for Criterion. This is not like The Lodge, where like The Lodge feels like the most fit for the horror genre. Censor is almost not as much a horror film as it is kind of a psychological thrill ride. Everyone really doesn't understand that horror and thriller are two different entities. Yes, they're in the same realm, but they're not the same genre that people like to kind of put together.
Number 2, I have another movie from 2020, and that is Dick Johnson is Dead. This is a documentary from Kirsten Johnson. It was actually a Netflix release, and we know that the Criterion Collection has released Netflix movies before onto their collection. We also know that Criterion has released Kirsten Johnson's Cameraman before, and so them releasing one of her movies wouldn't be anything out of the ordinary. In fact, I almost feel like it's inevitable that someday they will release this documentary. I just hope that it's sooner than later, because I want this in my collection. The movie follows Kirsten Johnson's father just slowly decaying. He's getting to the end of his life, and she chooses to document the final years of his life. I won't like spoil anything. I won't talk about it too much, but it's just a very heartwarming movie that had me cry not once, but twice. And that's not something that I can say for a lot of movies. With Dick Johnson is Dead, I don't even think it has a Blu-ray release yet, and that's why I think Criterion Collection should be the first to release it. Their supplements could be amazing. We get so much footage of Dick Johnson with his family and him on his own and him in his career and him just kind of talking, and I wonder what footage was cut out of the movie. Let us see that footage. Anything with him, I would love to see more content of.
Number 2 is going to go to A Separation. This is a film directed by Asghar Farhadi. I hope I'm saying that name right. I watched this movie during the 24-hour movie marathon, and although I was tired and the movie's a bit slow, this is a artistic film. This is a very, very beautifully shot, beautifully translated film. You could tell how rich the script was. I mean, this is a movie that screams to me something Criterion would have already released, because it's a movie that meets the criteria. It's also a foreign film. Asghar Farhadi, I don't believe, has any movies on the collection. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nate, or anybody in the comments, but this is somebody who I think deserves a film on the Criterion Collection, and it's one that I know Nate loves. It's one that I've seen, and I really loved it, and it's a movie that just makes a lot of sense.
Coming in at number 1 is a Best Picture winner that I saw years ago, and while I definitely liked it years ago, I loved it so much more on a rewatch. That movie is Marty. Marty is such a simple Best Picture winner, and to this day, it's the shortest Best Picture winner to ever win. It's simply a movie about a middle-aged man who doesn't have a girlfriend, doesn't have a wife for that matter. People are always on him for not being married or for not having a girlfriend. They think there's something wrong with him, but he's just constantly getting pestered every day from everyone. Like, the movie starts and he works as a butcher at a butcher shop, and the movie starts with him selling meat to a woman, and she starts getting on him for not having a girlfriend. Everyone and their dog is complaining about how he doesn't have a girlfriend. Just mind your own business. At the end of the day, though, Marty is a romantic movie. It's about how love is possible at any age and at any point in life. I mean, here you have this main character who had given up on love and who is just kind of drifting through life, and then he, what are the odds, meets another woman that is older for her age, and they start falling in love. And it's not a thing where it's like they fall in love and they get married the next day. It's not anything like that. That's not what Marty does. It just tells you that love is possible at any stage of life. You see them go on a date, you see them flirt with each other, you see them laugh with each other, and it is so heartwarming. The reason I want Criterion Collection to release this movie specifically is, one, my previous argument that it needs more Best Picture winners in their collection, but two, the Blu-ray for this that was previously released is now out of print, and I would love for the Criterion Collection to take Marty and give it a well-deserved treatment, where we talk about supplements, we talk about new cover art, we look at behind the scenes, maybe interviews with the cast, like archival footage. I know that a lot of black and white movies from back in the day have archival footage that has yet to be released, and if that kind of content was available, this is where we want to see it on the Criterion Collection. Not only did the movie win Best Picture, but Ernest Borgnine, I think that's how you say his name, won the Oscar for Best Actor in a Leading Performance, and he's totally deserved it. Like, I just get so excited about it because he gives such a great performance, and I feel like it's such a almost like abnormal win. I almost feel like this movie like shouldn't have won, and I love it even more because it won. Like, when you put it up against another Best Picture winner, let's say Schindler's List, you can't compare the two because one's like a grand epic about World War II and the tragedy of the Holocaust. The other is about a middle-aged man who isn't married and who walks around at night with his friend trying to find a girl to go on a date with. They're just completely two different movies, but they're both just as much deserved of the Best Picture win.
And my number one is obviously going to be Roberto Benigni's Life is Beautiful. I'm kidding. All right, my number one is going to be Denis Villeneuve's Enemy. This is his first film, and boy, is it amazing. Jake Gyllenhaal, great. Melanie Laurent, great. Another version of Jake Gyllenhaal, fantastic. This movie, to me, is the most deserved film that Denis Villeneuve has in his arsenal to come out in Criterion. This is back when he was just an indie director. No one knew who he was. He wasn't doing things like Dune and Blade Runner. No, he was doing these small independent projects that really just had a lot of symbolism. This is a movie that's all about symbolism, and Criterion loves that. They love symbolism. They love movies that deal in the obscure, and this movie is very obscure with its themes, with its thematics, the way that the movie moves along, the pacing, the fact that it's Jake Gyllenhaal versus Jake Gyllenhaal, like that sounds like a Criterion release. I could just picture the back of the film with it saying what the movie's about. I really full-heartedly believe that this could be a great Criterion, and you don't even have to do much for the art because they already gave you a great poster. You could just kind of do something with the poster itself, but kind of make it your own a little bit. Yeah, if Christopher Nolan has the following, Denis Villeneuve should have Enemy.
Thank you so much for clicking on Nick's video and for checking out part 2, our numbers 5 through 1. Nick, I mean, this is your channel, so I'll leave the rest to you. See you guys later.
Nate, thank you so much for joining me on this adventure. Thanks for introducing me to the Criterion Collection, and I hope that we can go out and shop in November, and maybe, just maybe, we'll make another one of these next year. You'll have to wait and see, I don't know. Anyway, guys, make sure you go check out Nate's channel. I'm sure all of you guys know who he is. Information will be down below in the description of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel so you can watch me talk about a lot of things I'm passionate about, including horror, Criterions, also my short film journey. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly do love you. And until next Criterion sale, see ya.